Well, good afternoon, everyone. We might make a start. So on behalf of the Australasian College for Road Safety, welcome to this webinar about local government networking. For those that don't know me, I am the Road Safety Officer for Parkes, Forbes and Lachlan Shire Councils. We're located in the central west of New South Wales, and my name is Melanie Suter. I've been a long-serving road safety officer. I've been there for 20 years this year, so I'm very excited and was really pleased that the college reached out and asked me to help to pull this event together. So a bit of housekeeping, if we can flick to the next slide. So the webinar is going to run for 60 minutes. It is being recorded and we will email it out to all of the people that have registered, and we'll be doing questions at the end of the webinar. So it's sort of in two halves. So the first half an hour will be around road safety strategic planning, and the second half will focus on the actual network and what that might look like. So if you want to ask questions, you just need to click on the Q&A down the bottom. And if you just want to chat, we're happy to see what you've got to say as well. So click that into the chat. I want to do a bit of more housekeeping as well. So starting with a acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge and pay our respects to the many First Nations of Australia who continue to be the sovereign custodians of the countries and the sovereignty of the Maori in New Zealand. We acknowledge the ongoing traditional custodians of the land which we live, work and learn, and pay our respects to elders who have passed on the legacy of knowledge and culture to future generations. May the sharing of the knowledge through the Matawa Rua Maori and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders ways of knowing, being and doing guide you with wisdom and courage as it enhances our collective futures. And I apologise if I mispronounced that. I do want to do a bit of a shout out to all of those across the country that are suffering through floods, particularly my home shires at the moment as well, and hope that that everybody keeps safe. If we can flick to the next slide, please. So welcome to our presenters. We're going to hear from 4 road safety practitioners across the country who are going to talk to us about their road safety strategic plans. So we're going to start with a bit of a shuffle. We're going to start with Kate in New South Wales at Eurobodalla. Then we'll hear from Matt at Mornington Peninsula in Victoria. Then Terry Ann over in Western Australia, and finishing up with Renee up on the Gold Coast. So we'll go straight to you, Kate.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Melanie.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I forgot about the poll. Yes, thank you,
okay.
Gemma, for reminding me. Yes, and we'll go live with a poll first. And yeah, there you go. So does your council have a road safety strategic plan? Is that, we've all voted? $30 more seconds to put your vote in. Excellent. And we'll flick over to Kate.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm Kate McDougall. I'm the Road Safety Officer of Eurobodalla Shire Council, and Eurobodalla is around about 4 hours drive south of Sydney and 2 hours east of Canberra, just to put it, and we're on the coast, so just to put it into perspective. But if we just go off to our first slide, the Eurobodalla Road Safety Plan aims to drive down road-related trauma for our community, our families and the 1.5 million visitors who visit annually. The Road Safety Plan aims to better target specific areas of focus to meet the above objectives and ensure improved road safety outcomes are achieved. So how did we get here? The next plan. Okay, the Road Safety Plan aligns with the New South Wales Road Safety Strategy with attention to the Eurobodalla context. It acknowledges that a significant proportion of the responsibility of the road safety remains still with the New South Wales Government, but it outlines Council's actions on the local and regional road network, as well as Council's role as an advocate for road safety. It also acknowledges that many actions require funding and support from other levels of government. It also aligns with the National Road Safety Strategy. So next. So we have in Australia across about 13,000 people died and more than 360,000 people were seriously injured from road trauma from 2008 to 2017. In the New South Wales context, this means that someone is killed or hospitalised on our roads because of a crash every 41 minutes. Although good progress was made to reduce the number of fatalities occurring since 2006, 2014 to 17 fatalities have seen an increase from its low of 307 per year to 389 in 2017. And interestingly enough, 2/3 of these fatalities are in regional areas, which the Eurobodalla is one, as opposed to fatalities for serious injuries, 2/3 of those occurred in major city centres. We do note, though, the average severity of injury crash has increased since 2011. Next, please. I'm just trying to find mine. Okay, like the current New South Wales Road Safety Plan, the Eurobodalla uses the safe systems approach, the holistic approach of safe speeds, people, vehicles and roads. And we have an ultimate goal of zero before by 2056. Okay, next. Okay, the Eurobodalla Shire Council had the responsibility to build and renew and maintain over 1,000 kilometres of its transport network. But only 9% of our road network is made up of distributor and regional roads, yet just under half of all our casualty crashes occur on these same 9% of our council network. This really puts things into perspective and has allowed us to take a whole of network and whole of route approach to road safety rather than individual project focus. But because of this, every effort to be made to pursue works are progressive to deliver against the strategic purpose of each route within that network. Next. Okay, so in the road safety plan, we've actually put priority actions together. So we have a total of 67 priority actions, which were identified and split into the areas based on the safe systems approach. We developed a green light system of monitoring our progress against each action. There is consistent with how we monitor our progress, particularly against our delivery and our operational plans. To illustrate this, I'll show you two examples if I've got enough time and how we delivered on these actions. But in summary, we have fully completed 8 of the road safety actions within the 31 on track continuing, 2 of the safe speeds actions with another 9 on track, 1 safe vehicle actions with another 4 on track continuing, and 4 of the safe people actions with another 8 on track continuing. That's where we were probably around about 3 or 4 months ago. So in the next, just making sure, how much time do I have? Okay, so here we have a lot of the priority actions of our road safety plan are linked throughout all those, the 4 areas of the safe system plans. So we teamed up with technical staff and key operational staff to undertake a road safety review. We had 900 road safety hazards and treatments. 225 of these are being on distributor and regional roads. The other main issues we had were to drop off steep batters and hazards within clear zones, such as culvert head walls and trees that were close to the road. Now, this Larry's Mountain Road is a collector road with traffic volumes less than 1,000 vehicles per day. The road safety review identified many issues on this route, which many quite straightforward fixes to achieve the better outcomes. With these identified, we're able to recycle material from other nearby projects to undertake mass action treatment, saving the double handling and stockpiling of material, and worst case, avoiding going to landfill while addressing many safety issues in a mass action treatment done to the cost effective measure. Now, just go to the next one. We had our next slide is a grandfather's Gully realignment. It was a major project. Council received $3.8 million for this project under the federal and state government stimulus commitment to safety works. The road safety improvements will include the removal of tight bends that have poor crash history, as well as upgrading the intersection treatments and provide wider lane, centre line and shoulder treatments and improving sight distance. All this has been identified in our road safety plan, and in our road safety plan finishes this year. So we'll be upgrading, looking at our everything that's been completed and putting into a new road safety plan between now and the next 3 years. And finally, the Eurobodalla Road Safety Plan aims to foster collaboration between government agency and achieve shared goals, providing benefits for council and communities, resulting in fewer road-related fatalities and injuries. Sets a benchmark for further cementing the whole of network and whole of route thinking, integrated with resilience, livability, capability, functionality, asset renewal and efficiency of project delivering using the Safe Systems framework. So basically it allows for those with the skills to scan the network, putting the scattered pieces of a jigsaw together to provide a road safety and network masterpiece set in a rural landscape that steadily comes into focus, funded by the dimes council can scramble together. So thank you.
Thanks, Kate. That was great. And you've got a couple of questions there in the chat that we'll come back to for the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. So we'll continue our trip around Australia and head now to the Mornington Peninsula to hear from Matt about their strategic plan. Over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Matt McQuinnan, Traffic and Road Safety Engineer at Mornington Peninsula Shire. Next slide, please. The Mornington Peninsula is in Victoria, about an hour's southeast of Melbourne. It's called Melbourne's Playground by some, with over 7 million annual visitors. If you could flip to the next slide. Yeah, and these 7 million visitors enjoy a range of attractions, including our unique townships, beaches, golf courses, Western Port and hinterland. So essentially we're a mix of urban and rural townships and environments. Next slide, please. It's a beautiful place, but unfortunately the Mornington Peninsula also has unacceptably high levels of road trauma. 390 people have been killed on roads within the Mornington Peninsula since the beginning of modern records in 1988. We've experienced the equals highest number of deaths of Victoria's 79 municipalities for the period 2014 to 2021, with 64 deaths and over 1,300 serious injuries in the past decade, which have devastating and often lifelong impacts to victims and their families. Next slide, please. Over the past 30 years, the number of annual fatalities and serious injuries has trended downwards. However, over the past 10 years, the reductions plateaued, and we still average over 7 deaths and 150 serious injuries per year. Unfortunately, the grim reality is that based on these current averages, over 200 people could be killed on roads within the Mornington Peninsula within the next 30 years, which highlights the task ahead and our required commitment to reducing road trauma. Next slide, please. So for more than a decade, we've been striving to be a courageous leader in the road safety space. In 2016, we became Victoria's first Towards Zero municipality and adopted the goal of zero road death and serious injuries, which was later supported by our Mornington Peninsula Towards Zero road safety strategy. Our road safety strategy provides the strategic direction necessary to drive a step change in road trauma reduction on the peninsula through the implementation of safe system principles. The overall vision for the strategy is for all journeys to be safe and feel safe for all modes of transport, including pedestrians and cyclists. Next slide, please. The strategy is all about aligning with safe system best practice with safer roads, safer speeds, safer road use and safer vehicles. In summary, road trauma can be significantly reduced by matching appropriate speed limits with infrastructure and use of roads, supported by safe road users and safe vehicles, to reduce risk of collisions and allow for human error to create a road network that's forgiving so that any crashes that do occur don't result in death or serious injury. Next slide, please. Monash University Accident Research Centre and Corbin Consulting undertook analysis of comprehensive crash data. Of note is that over half of the fatal and serious injuries within the Shire on state-managed roads, which demonstrates that that road safety requires a multi-agency approach. And while vehicle occupants represent the majority of fatalities and serious injuries, there's also a significant amount of road trauma involving other road users each year, which needs to be addressed. So using the data-led approach, the focus of the strategy is on systemic crash types that tend to occur on certain types of roads and intersections, given that specific locations that crashes occur are relatively random. So a broader risk-based approach must be taken to achieve zero by 2050, whereby all systemic crash risks are eliminated by transforming the road network to be in line with safe system principles. So that's really a similar approach to what Kate was just mentioning, identifying certain types of roads where the majority of crashes happen, which is a significant milestone for the Shire in moving to addressing systemic crash risk rather than chasing crashes based only on crash history, which can be a never-ending loop. Next slide, please. So the data analysis identified 4 key repeated systemic crash types that keep occurring on certain types of roads and make up 84% of all fatalities and serious injuries within the Shire. So on connector roads that are primarily managed by Department of Transport, mid-block locations account for 27% of crashes and intersections 21%. Next slide. And on local roads that are mostly Shire managed, 19% at mid-block locations, 21% at intersections. Addressing these 4 main crash types successfully would make a large contribution to preventing severe road trauma over coming years. In terms of addressing the infrastructure side of addressing crashes, next slide, please. There's a range of safe system aligned treatments that we're constantly implementing, such as roundabouts, road safety barriers, pedestrian treatments, and appropriate speed limits, often with innovative approaches where we can, to continue to drive towards zero vision. Next slide, please. Lastly, an important part of achieving the goals of the strategy is to evaluate the strategy against relevant performance indicators. While reduction in road trauma is the overall goal of the strategy, the number of fatalities and serious injuries tends to vary from year to year in the short term. Therefore, it's important to monitor the strategy against indicators that are known to improve road safety, which will ultimately result in reducing road trauma. Overall, it's a long-term pursuit that will require determination and dedication, sometimes with challenges, but that's what we're committed to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. We'll keep trucking around the country and we're heading over to Western Australia now. So I'll hand you over to Terry Ann to tell you all about their strategic plan.
Yep, I'll start again. Thanks, Mel, and hi to everyone. I'm Terry Ann Pettit, and I'm the Manager of Road Safety at WALGA, the WA Local Government Association. It's a great pleasure to be a part of this webinar and to share what we're doing in the road safety strategic planning space. I would like to first acknowledge the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation as the traditional custodians of the land where I am today. I extend my respect to their elders, past and present. So I've got to start with some stats. After all, this is a road safety presentation. Thank you for the message. Got my video on now. So in Western Australia, WALGA is funded by the state government to engage and support local governments to contribute to the delivery of the Driving Change road safety strategy. This funding provides for a team of 8 road safety advisors, 1 road safety systems specialist who work directly with local governments. These officers are located or based according to 10 regional road groupings of local governments as shown on the map. Apart from a small number of large metropolitan local governments who have resident road safety officer, you can see that the local government road safety resource is spread fairly thinly across a large state with a relatively small population. That being 9 officers servicing 139 local governments who manage 87% of the road network, where more than half of all road death and serious injury occurs. Next slide, please. So traditionally, WALGA's RoadWise program took a typical community-based approach to local road safety activity with a focus on behavioural interventions. However, we are in the process of reframing our work to be directed at supporting local governments towards best practice. And that's in accordance with the various roles and functions that relate to the safe system approach. So with far less emphasis on behaviours, our effort now is associated with the functions and the spheres of influence that local governments have in the safe system context. In short, we now give far more attention to local government's role as road managers. And, you know, this is particularly given that safe road infrastructure, according to the Global Road Safety Facility, is said to be able to reduce death and serious injuries by up to 80%. Next slide, please. So in the distant past, we were involved in working with individual local governments to develop local road safety strategies. However, we are increasingly conscious of the requirements of local governments in terms of the raft of strategic and operational plans and reporting that local governments must produce in accordance with the Act. Next slide. Thank you. So our approach has evolved to focus more on road safety management systems rather than the development of plans that are road safety specific. Much of our approach is guided by a set of road safety governing principles for local governments, which were developed and validated using the Delphi method. Fairly recently, we also created a new position, the Road Safety Systems Specialist, to specifically work with local governments to develop bespoke management systems. This was on the back of some success with a demonstration project which aimed to show that local governments can develop management systems to proactively manage and improve road safety performance. And I'll say a bit more about that at the demonstration project at the end of my presentation. Next slide, please, Gemma. So a part of the rationale for our new approach is that road safety management systems are a systematic, planned approach to embed safety culture within, in our case, local governments as an organisation. This is considered a critical success factor based on a comparison of the best and worst performing countries in Europe, where a key difference was the lack of documented road safety management systems in those countries with the worst road safety record. Austroads highlights a number of features, including those listed, that are important in developing a framework for road safety management. And the last slide, please, Gemma. So back to the demonstration project that I mentioned a little earlier. The Shire of Manjimup in the southwest region of Western Australia is well progressed on the journey of following the 6 stages of the international standard ISO 39001-2012 to develop a road traffic safety management system. If anyone gets a chance, I recommend that you have a look at the Shire's policy, which they're about halfway through the Shire is about halfway through those 6 stages. The policy is really important. It maps where road safety is embedded within the everyday business of the Shire. And I'd like to finish by recognising and thanking Michael and the team at the Shire of Manjimup for their foresight and leadership, for embracing the idea and allowing us to share and showcase their work in developing a road traffic safety management system. Thank you.
Helps if you unmute yourself. Our last presenter is running a bit late, so we might just duck to a couple of these questions that had popped up initially. So Kate, the first couple are for you. So what tools were used for your road safety review? So speed, RSA, IRAP, etc.
Okay, we all good? Yeah. No, we actually did some IRAP, and also for the initial review, we did road safety. We did road safety reviews on our local sealed roads, and we actually rated them. And then when we actually put for grant funding, we do an IRAP for each of our grant funding for that sort of thing. But when we went out there, we had road safety audit trained staff, along with some of our maintenance staff who actually went out and looked at all our roads and ranked them basically and identified each one of our issues.
Awesome, and I think that answers David's question as well. There was another one in the Q&A. Did most of your funding for road improvements come from the state government?
A bit of both. We've actually got a bit of federal funding and the state funding as well.
Yep. And while the question, look, please whack your questions into the chat or the Q&A if you've got any while we're at this point. I might just ask you some of the questions that were on my mind around strategic planning, I guess, to all of the panel. So to all of you, who was the project leader or driver in getting your road safety strategic plan, I guess, up and running and approved? So Matt, do you want to go first?
Yep, can do. Yeah, to some extent, that question relates a bit to David's question that he just put in as well, around some of the challenges and that sort of thing. So what's been useful for us is having, I guess, the broader recognition around the importance of road safety. So yeah, really what I mentioned in the presentation around becoming a towards zero municipality. So there was no sort of official channel to do that at the time. I'm not sure if there even still is, but through work of one of my colleagues and road safety expert, Dr. Bruce Corbin, it was sort of pushed that establishing, I guess, the problem and the vision and sort of drawing a line in the sand was an important step. So a lot of what we've done in road safety is sort of has come about as that. From that, it was sort of a good initial step in aligning ourselves to the state government towards zero vision, more broadly around the national as well, and in quite a few opportunities have come about from that as well, in terms of working with different organisations and that sort of thing. So following that, we were able to continue on with our development of our road safety strategy, but really having that vision allowed it to be included to the council plan for all councillors and management to be aware of it and be I guess, a significant enough issue and project that is supported by all levels, both from councillors to management to officers.
Great, thanks, Matt. What about at your end, Terry Ann? Advice for people that want to get a road safety plan off the ground?
Yeah, Mel, thanks. I think from our experience with the demonstration project, we've had 3 local governments who were involved in the demonstration project, and all 3 took a very different approach to how they, in terms of who led that. So the Shire of Manjimup that I mentioned, it came from the Director of Engineering or Infrastructure. So it came from staff and went up to, discussed with the executive, and the councillors were informed about it. In one of the other shires, it was a resolution of council, so it was a formal agenda item that went to council, and council made the decision. And the other, it was a more informal, but through top down from council to start the development of a road safety management system.
Great, thank you. What about you, Kate? Advice for getting a plan off the ground? Leaders, drivers?
Okay, yeah. Actually, I found it very useful to have a director in our local council who was very much into the road safety plan and having it up there. I did notice there was something else, another question in the webinar chat here was whether or not there was any behavioural programs. Our previous road safety plan was pretty much all behavioural. It was based on very much the type of crashes, who crashed, how old they were, and what the causals were, and it was very much behavioural. Whereas this time around, we've used very much the holistic safe systems approach, and we do have a behavioural part in there. Although I must admit, it is there is a very large, significant engineering, roads and roadsides aspect in there. But I think if you have a council, if you have people within your council who are or in your organisation who are very much keen on road safety, it's a lot easier to get the road safety plan out there. And particularly if you can manage to bring it into your strategic plans and your operational plans. Once it's been embedded into those, it's road safety is then a whole of council fixture rather than just one area.
Cool. Hi Renee, welcome. Do you want to flick to your presentation and we can come back to the couple of questions that we've still got going on in the chat?
Yeah, that would be great. Sorry, yeah, apologies. I thought it was in Queensland time. So yeah. All right, so the City of Gold Coast recently adopted a new road safety plan. Yeah, so we have a transport strategy, and out of that we have a series of modal plans, and this is one of those modal plans. Next slide. So in the development of the road safety plan, we started with an environmental scan. Obviously, it takes a safe systems approach. It's very data driven. We worked collaboratively with our partners, and we really wanted to be adaptable to emerging trends. It contains 50 actions and is supported by the Gold Coast Road Safety Partnership Advisory Group. Next slide. So we commenced the development of the plan in February 21. In June 2021, we went to council with an acquittal of the actions from our previous plan, and then in September 2021, it was formally adopted by council. Next slide. So as part of the development, we developed a road safety team from in-house capabilities, so that the team has a blend of skill sets in project management, road safety and traffic engineering, as well as marketing and communications. Next slide. So we have localized safe systems themes that go throughout the plan. So we've got the theme of our people. Next slide. We've got our transport systems, our places, and our shared responsibility, where we partner with both states, government, the likes of the Royal Automotive Club of Queensland, universities, and the police. So the plan focuses on our business as usual activities. So these are actions from the previous strategy that have now become business as usual things that we do. And then we also had a suite of key initiatives, and we're currently working on the key year one initiatives of the plan. So the key success factors is those localized safe systems approaches and the themes, our Gold Coast Road Safety Partnership, so working collaboratively with other agencies, the development of a road safety team to deliver the actions, and also the integration with the other strategies and plans. And that was it.
Awesome, thanks Renee. Can I pose the same question to you that I asked the other panelists about, I guess, advice to people on the line that are from a local council that might want to get a road safety strategic plan going? Who's the drivers? What are the tips to get some traction?
I guess with any plan or strategy that you're trying to get off the ground is finding a champion. So that might be an elected representative or someone senior within the organisation to get them to get that organisational support for for the strategy. I think that's probably one of the key things.
Awesome. Question for the rest of the panel. What's the appetite like for 30 kilometres an hour?
We have 30 kilometres an hour in one of our towns in Maria. It's half of it's been done, and haven't really done the assessment of it yet, but it seems to be going well. We've actually got traffic counts at the moment out at the moment to see how everything's going to have the 30 Ks put on the other side, but so far so good. We really are. The community consultation was extensive, and we had to go out to a lot of the businesses in the area, and some of them were a bit concerned regarding it, but we were actually talking about it being making a more walkable town, so and more usable for everybody. So in our area, in that small town, it's good.
Anyone else want to have a go at 30 Ks?
So we've just rolled out a whole range of 30 Ks in our key activity precincts along our beachfront areas. So our strategy identifies the area. We've got, the Gold Coast is quite a linear city, and we have a long beachfront area, and we've identified, we have a highway, well, it's an arterial road that runs north-south, and we've identified the area between that arterial road and the beach as like more of a place rather than for the transport of like a movement, more of a place. And so we're progressively reviewing all of those activity centres that sit east of that arterial road with the plan of making them 30 or 40. And we're looking at more of an area-wide approach, so trying to manipulate it so that if we're getting a 30 and a 40 and a 50, we'll introduce some traffic calming or whatever to get it as a consistent 30.
Yeah, thanks, Renee. Kate, you've got a follow-up question. Did you change the infrastructure as well as the speed limits?
Yeah, we actually put in quite a few wombat crossings. So we have a half our town where it used to be a bit of a rat run, so that 30 kilometres has come in, but we've actually put in quite a number of crossings, and yeah, so that's what we've got. Pardon me. Interestingly enough, a number of the businesses and concerns were the loss of parking on those particular roads where those crossings were put in, but I think we actually ended up losing about 11 parking spots. Pardon me, but we do have quite extensive car parks.
No worries. Okay, another question. Are your strategic plans used by council's strategic and land use planners to guide development to deliver safer road infrastructure? And if so, how? Did you engage with the town planning development engineers?
I might as well go. So to some extent they are, and having recognition of a strategy is useful, but often it comes down to case by case with developments and developers. Often the developer and the developer's traffic engineering consultant are trying to do as little as possible in terms of works and reducing costs. We're trying to push for the opposite. It can be challenging though, particularly in where there's any grey area between standards or anything like that. VCAT, which is sort of Victoria's Civil and Administrative Tribunal that decides planning applications. If the council makes a decision that the developer is not happy with, they can appeal to that. Is often more biased towards land use planning considerations and not necessarily as much traffic. And when it is more traffic, it's probably more to do with parking than road safety. So if it's not clearly warranted in standards, it's still a challenge, but it allows for negotiation on larger developments. So there's probably more work that could be done with that in trying to align it better. But yeah, from councils, from ourselves and other Victorian councils I've spoken to, it's sort of an ongoing challenge that we try to address as best we can.
Any of the other panelists about engaging with the planners?
Mel, I have to say, I don't think we've done that well in WA, engaging with planners, not working within a local government, but for the association. You know, we talk to our planning department here, but I don't think we've done that well. I think that's something that we could definitely pick our act up on, and would be looking to do that going forward.
How about at your end, Renee? You've got a team that's working on road safety?
Yeah, so that is one of our actions within our road safety plan, is to influence those design guides in our planning scheme and make sure they're reflective of the road safety outcomes that we're trying to achieve.
Awesome. So I'm just looking at the time thinking, let's wrap this bit up. So Gemma, can we work up the post poll for this bit around road safety strategic planning? If everybody could have a bit of a vote about that. So do you think the council should have their own road safety strategic plan? I'll give you a few more seconds to vote. Cool, excellent. All right, so that's good. We'll tell you about the poll results towards the end as well. So now we're going to move on to the establishment of the network. So I wanted to do a bit of a shout out here, and I didn't want to name names because I knew I'd forget some people. To just say thank you to everybody who this has been talked about for a while, that's helped to pull this together and I guess get us to this point today where we're actually having a webinar to talk about it, and those that have also put their hand up to want to be involved moving forward. So lots of people online, lots of people that have expressed interest, which is fantastic, so that's great. So now I guess we need to move into a discussion around what does that look like moving forward, I guess. So I might just please whack your ideas into the chat or pose a Q&A, but we might just go around the panel. I mean, how do you guys think, what would be useful for you in terms of how this works as a network to share ideas with other road safety practitioners in local councils? Kate, do you want to go first?
Sorry, I was just trying to unmute myself. Sorry, what was the question again? I was just...
Sorry, and I was unmuting myself. I guess how would you like to see this network function, I guess, so that we're all connect? Yeah, what some ideas on how this might work moving forward?
Yeah, I think actually it would be, I think if we can have a question and answer panel even, and looking at particular ideas that people are interested in or where they wanted to go. It's interesting because a number of questions in the chat here could lead to something bigger and better. Simple things like even if we try to make road safety a national issue and consolidate to be national projects as opposed to, I mean, here we are, we're a bunch of local governments from different states here. We've all got different ideas about speed limits and various ways, see how we can work together in putting those sort of ideas together, whether or not people want them to be put together or not. I think here we can have other chances, even to just collaboration, question answers during the day, finding out who we can have special guest speakers come along to see what is available in the road safety space. Or even just being able to promote the projects that we actually do. I think that's a very useful space. I know being a road safety officer, sometimes it's nice to be able to reach out and talk to somebody who is in that local government space And because sometimes we do work very much in isolation in our own local government, but we work well with our peers in road safety.
Thanks, Kate. So I guess I probably should have framed that. It's about how can the college, I guess, what are some practical ways that the college can help to facilitate this network, I guess? So is it something that's attached to the conference each year? Is it more of these type of webinars? Is it maybe monthly meetings with no agendas, or maybe there is agendas that you submit your idea to and we ask the Brains Trust, I guess. So Matt, yeah, Matt, do you want to have a go at now answering that I've framed it a bit better?
Yeah, I think all of that sort of thing is useful. Probably frequency of, say, webinars. There might be a range of opinions, I suppose, between, say, having something at the Road Safety Conference and then 3 other webinars would make it sort of quarterly. I don't know what to think of the frequency of that. I'm sure some would potentially want it more frequently. Some probably think that's about right. Seen other sort of groups, if they're not frequent enough, it can sort of lose momentum. If they're too frequent, it becomes a bit too onerous for some people as well. So yeah, possibly that's one discussion point, and people might want to put in the chat. And yeah, maybe it's more frequent as we get going, and then a bit less frequent as sort of up and running. I'm not sure whether it would be possible or not, but I guess some kind of I don't know, online forum or something like that people can ask questions of how other councils are doing things, or even associated with that some kind of message board or something that councils can proactively put on their projects, things that have gone well, not gone well, but also a forum aspect where people could ask questions of others. I don't know whether that's technologically possible or too onerous to organise, but that's one idea as well, I suppose.
Cool, awesome. Renee?
Sorry. Yeah, I think quarterly is probably a nice frequency. I think having people submit stuff for agendas is also a good idea, because I mean, from my perspective, in Queensland, the local governments perhaps don't communicate enough in this space. And, you know, whilst we all communicate in our jurisdiction with our state counterparts, that knowledge sharing across local governments, I think, is really lacking at the moment. So yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Terry-Ann?
Yeah, Mel, I think it's incredibly valued to share ideas, information. The local government sector is a very diverse sector with and there was lots of interest in this webinar. So trying to find something that will be easily manageable with people spread across the country, that will be challenging, but, you know, so worth it. I wonder if it would be worth doing a survey to find out what sort of things the people that have participated in this webinar, what sort of things people would like to see from the network. I'm conscious that it's just a few of us. There's comments coming through with ideas. So I wonder if a survey might be the go to find out what people would like to see. Might be, you know, topic driven, you know, more webinars, maybe, I don't know, lunch and learn, a whole heap of things, really. So yeah, open the floodgates, ask people.
Yep, agree. Yeah, and I can see all of that coming through in the chat with your wonderful ideas on where to from here, and some ways that this network might work. So the people that are registered who are currently not members of the college, would encourage you to become an active member so that you can access the network. And I think it was Dave McTiernan had a comment in here about the local, active state and territory chapters who'd love to have more representation from local government. So if you're a member or you're not, become a member and reach out to your local chapter to suggest topics for what the state are up to.
Just a matter of interest, Mel. I just think it would be interesting, just going on what Terry Ann said, it would be interesting to find out where people are from today. And it would be, what organisations, how many are from local government and who they are within local government. So we can, and then find out if it's, if there are other areas within local government that we can reach as well, and even those ones that don't have much to do with the road safety or don't have a road safety officer, or that we can reach out and find out from them.
Yep, so we could definitely put together some sort of survey to get some feedback from the members about what the network looks like moving forward. Just still having a look at what's popping up in the chat. Some great ideas there, which is wonderful. But I think the take home is that we all agree that it's great to connect with others working in the same field across the country and even across the ditch into New Zealand as well. Oh, that's a great idea. Communication toolkit. Yep. So that's all good. Gemma, can we work up that other poll question? Yep. Cool. Feels like a natural point to ask you about whether or not you'd like to be involved and if you'd actually want to be on the committee that helps to pull this together moving forward. Cool. Excellent. Oh, I'll shut that out. Yeah, so I'm super happy for people to reach out to me or to the college if you've got any questions moving forward, I guess, about where to from here. We'll pull all of that together from what's come out of the chat today about how to move forward in terms of setting up the network. If you're keen to be involved, please let us know. And thank you to all of the presenters that gave their time today to talk to you about their road safety strategic plans. And I hope that that was helpful to you that are working in local government, that you can go away and think about doing one at your council. So thank you everybody for your time. I'll give you 5 minutes back in your day. We'll finish early and you can head off. Have a great rest of Friday.